After the break, don't go anywhere. Game number 3 coming up after this.
All right, that's better. Turn on the microphone. Turn on the microphone. We are back. We are back for final game of Split 1. I am your host. Let's see if I can get this screen working correctly. I have to turn all of those off, do I? That's really annoying. Let's turn all of those off and get going. Formal is going to be joining me if I can click the right buttons. Oh, don't tell me the webcam's not coming on. Let's just see if the webcam's coming on. I don't want to have to restart things. For some reason, the webcam's not coming on. There's always something. You won't get to see my pretty face, which might be a good thing, really. Which might be a good thing, because it's just not. It's not working right now. The amount of times you start and restart, you start and restart OBS, and still it does fall over. So I'm not quite sure what is happening. Anyway, that's my problem, not your problem. We're here for Gravitas Cast on Twitch TV /Gravitas OS, on my LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Gravitas on YouTube. We're going to get into another match. This is our final match of Split 1. Let's see if we can get the camera to come up. No, we can't. Do you think I want to go with the... let's go with the copy. Let's see if it pasted in. Let's see if we can paste it again and see if it comes up then. If we can turn it on then. Nah, it doesn't want to. The only other way I can get it to work is to turn it off completely and start it again. I don't want to do that. I'm committed. I'm committed to doing this. All right, 6 p.m. The game is going to start soon. I am going to do my best to cast this without vision, which is good because you can't see me drinking an orange juice. Let's get into the channel. I'll turn this, turn that one off and turn this one on. And welcome, Max. Welcome
hello.
Welcome to the stream.
Yeah, sorry, you go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I don't know what, like, I've restarted OBS 3 or 4 times. I go to different screens and then I lose my webcam, and I've done it again. So I don't know what I've done to do that. And then I go to another one, and now I've got different audio coming into my ears. So I am just I'm a bit of a mess at the minute. I don't know what's going on. Everyone else is probably now hearing that sound, and I don't know where it's coming from.
It's spooky. I just turned on the stream right now though, and it doesn't. I don't hear any background noise. I think we're good.
No, but it's pulling through. Hang on. Hold a sec. I'm going to turn you off for a second. I can hear you. My audio on. It's now firing up the stream again, and we go back to the Twitch chat, because I closed that because I thought that was one of the things that was causing it. Hey, we should be back. Sorry for the slight intermission there. And the stream is back up and operational. And if things are going properly, which they might be in the pre-draft, let's do that.
Yep. No,
The
it
camera
sounds
is
good
back.
on my end.
The sound's back. Max is back. We're back. We're back, baby.
Huzzah! We're here. All right. Excellent.
All right. So, technical difficulties aside, we've got a match in our hands. We are playing, one might say, the best team in the league. They're going to be fighting it out for that number one spot later tonight. We are playing Chiefs Esports Club. And it's our last game of the split. Have you been following the OPL so far this split, Max? What's your take on the makeup of the OPL right now?
I mean, it from the start when I started looking at a lot of these rosters, I always did feel it was going to be that 2-horse race. I'm sorry to say, your horse was not one of those two. Gravitas, though, they actually did perform a lot better than where I initially pegged them. So kudos to this org. I'm just going to start digging my hole now, and we'll be nice and buried by the time we're done.
That's all right. That's all right. That is our lineup for today for this match. One of the things we have done is run with that wider squad, which is a little bit different, a bit counter to what it's probably been the norm. Like even what we did last year. Last year we had 5 guys and ran with the same 5 guys for both splits. So what we've done here is swapped out our bottom lane. So Belong and K-Pop come in for this matchup. That was a decision that Calvin and for the people who don't know, like especially when we got these 2 games, normally you have to submit your roster by midnight the night before. So we submitted it. Calvin or Omo, our coaches, will submit it the night before. But when you're playing 2 games, you have 5 minutes from the Nexus falling to submit your roster change. So there was some quick decisions made, and it would have been part of the plans, but you have that option to change the lineup. And Calvin and Omo have decided to do that for this one with Belong and K-Pop coming in the bot lane.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the reasons too that I was going to get to as well with the larger roster, it's one of the reasons why there were some question marks, at least in my eyes with Gravitas. The other team was Mammoth.
Yep.
Where I was just I'm curious how these 2 larger rosters are going to go, and I'm always going to be rooting for the teams that are willing to bring up those OCS players, try and create new stars, new talent within the league. So the fact that you guys did as well as you did kind of upset a lot of teams along the way. Yes, no playoffs, that's heartbreaking, but I was super surprised in a very, very good way with how Gravitas has performed. So.
Well, I think, as we sort of run through the lineup, one of the things, I come from a sports background, so I work with a lot of sports teams. They always run with a bigger squad, and it is the sum of parts. And so early on, it was a little bit of figuring out how that roster would work. But I think as the season went on, it was great seeing guys come into the lineup, perform well, but then also be cheering on their teammates off, when they're not playing, and sort of building that camaraderie, and giving us different options. So, the guys who are playing because they're putting in the work in scrims, supporting their teammates, and one of the things I think that probably has affected us in the last week, has probably affected everyone. The guys are actually starting to also bond off the riff. So after a match, they were going out and becoming stronger teammates. And so I think there is something to it. Hopefully we won't be all in lockdown for another 4 months, which we might be. But hopefully our guys can build, because again, another thing that we did was, I guess, counter to what everyone else is doing. We didn't have a gaming house, so all of these guys were, and continue to, they're playing from their own homes. And we're getting together in the right studios, but in this case, they're playing from home.
Yeah, as a lot of teams are now playing from home, given the current situation. And yes, I agree. Hopefully, we will get out of that soon. But again, one of the benefits too from people coming from who watch more traditional sports. I mean, esports will continue to play on. We don't need to be on a field in this instance, so it's great to see things like the OPL continuing, and you can still bond online, and to hear that the players are actually going out on their own accord and doing that is a great sign for the future, because like traditional sports, a happy dugout in baseball is a happy team. Same thing with League of Legends. If the team gets along, you're going to see better results.
Exactly. So Max, you've been around the scene for a while, and you've casted some of these guys in the OCS. I'm going to quickly run through the lineup. Tell us, what do you think of the guys? So when I say the word Praelis, what do you think?
Trailus, you go straight with the one who I probably know the least about, actually. I think he's been performing, pretty well this season.
He's our captain, and when he has performed big games,
yes,
he has performed. So he is a bit of a barometer for our team. But I tell you what, this man, you'll definitely know this man, Pabu.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not know Pabu if you follow the OCE scene? Made his waves at the All-Star event, but really, if you watched OPL before that, you would understand he had been a superstar top laner well before. That's how he got to the All-Star game. He's arguably one of the best top laners within the region, and I think he's a great pickup for this team. He provides a bit of veteran leadership, I feel like, for some of the younger players. He will go for those one-on-one plays. He will put the team on his back, and he is just an incredible asset to have.
And what about our mid laner, Suman, having his first real full split in the OPL? How do you think he's performed and what he can offer teams?
I mean, in the OCS is where I knew him a bit more last year, and he was super strong then, and as well, strong laner. Sometimes would struggle a little bit into the later games, but I feel like given the opportunity, he got to play a full split. I think that's fantastic for him. Again, it's one of those younger players that with these opportunities is going to have that growth, like really start to pick up his play, and I don't know. I think it's just he's good. He has a future.
I think he has grown, especially throughout the split. Like taking on that mid lane spot, had a real couple of good games late. Like he played terrific against our win against Direwolves recently. Can really pop off late games, so he's been really good in that space. Yeah. Our ADC for this match is Belong. Jimmy Woo, he's 19. He's played. He's swabbed in and out with Puma on this roster a couple of times so far this split.
Yeah, and I mean, I for him, I've seen him a few times. Mentioned in your solo queue conversations. A lot of the players in the high elo when they practice on their own, they will come up against each other time and time again just because of the way how the player base is and the way how League of Legends work. When players practice, the game will put people of equal skill to you. So when you're at that top level, when you actually go into practice on your own, you will practice with other people of high level. And Belong is constantly up there, and he's a bane for a lot of other bot laners. His success has been, he's been on and off, I feel like, this split, but he has that potential to take games over if enabled. K-pop is the exciting one.
Yeah.
When I saw he was coming in, I did pop a little bit, not just because of the name, but I've seen what he can do as well. One of the better supports, in my opinion, again, up and coming. Although he's a little bit older than a lot of players, that's okay. He's making the most of these chances, and I still think he can have that future. So,
and he has played around and been really solid for us in the support role.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, support, I can argue, support and jungle.
Yeah,
I'm going to be talking about these perhaps a little bit too much more when we get into the match, but I could argue that they are the two most important roles, and I'm excited to see the two of them go at it. Trashly.
Trashly,
best name.
He is the best name, and it's good to be able to get Trashly's face out there. Tim Wendell, not knowing who Trashly is, that's who Trashly is. He's done quite well in his first split in the OPL.
Yeah, he has. He did really well last year in OCS, so it's just the continuation, right?
Yep.
You start off in the minor leagues, you do well, you come up to the top league, you continue to perform well, and I think he has done just that. So. And another great player and fun to root for.
Yeah, and I keep looking at our roster and they're full of rookies, but Puma is the youngest one, and I've been super impressed with the way he's performed in his first split as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying this to knock on everyone who's 18, but sometimes age and maturity can become a big issue for teams. Even, internationally in some of the big organizations, maturity of some of these young players has brought entire teams down. So to hear you as an owner be super impressed with his attitude and his mental tells me that's the first thing you need to get when developing a young player. So fantastic to hear, and I hope he keeps growing.
Completely. And I think part of having the squad is also having guys that are good glue guys. And so I think Bambi is like that. He's been really good, a super good teammate behind the scenes. It's something you don't get to see in the scene because you don't get on stage. But
you can tell by how stern he looks in that picture.
Oh, he's very stern. He does take it. Those smoldering eyes, right? They just draw you in. But Bambi's a super valuable teammate. Also, Beats has played well in a variety of roles and been very adaptable for Gravitas, playing in mid lane and top lane.
Yeah, Beats, and I've seen him play jungle as well. He is a bit of a jack of all trades. I believe he was Chiefs Academy actually during
He was.
the
Yeah,
OCS
he was.
last year, and he was one of the better mid laners. I would always kind of root for him because I was good friends with his girlfriend at the
Okay.
time, so I always got a little bit of inside scoop perhaps of what was going on there. He's very passionate about the game. He likes to ride his high highs and low lows, but always fun to watch. I'm glad to see he's made it onto another roster. I hope he can continue to go. But yeah.
And you're a caster. How hard is it to cast a guy like Lockie with a name like Nobody? Like, it's really hard to describe the game and describe everything that Nobody does. Like, all split. All we've heard is the Nobody jokes.
I think that's a bit easier than one Emelg.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is true. But at least Emelg you can say Emelg right. Like, there's no there's no debating of what it should be. But yeah, it is quite tough. Nobody gets the tower. Nobody kills. Those kind of things. It does make it tough. But Lockie did really well early split. Some really strong games on Ornn. I feel like he was one of the early guys who was playing Ornn in the OPL.
Yeah, and I mean, we've later learned as the season's gone on how important having mastery over Ornn really is.
Yep.
I love that champion, and a good benchmark because, again, I've seen in other leagues, other players, they don't have Ornn in their champion pool, and as a result, the team has suffered. So it really shows how important, specializing in certain areas really can become, and it's why I do always like the larger lineups, which, again, Gravitas has, because you have that specialty.
Hang on, we've got to go back. Hang on, we've just got to go to this. Got to go to this one. Can't miss the McDonald's ads. While we're doing the ads, go out and get yourself a frozen Fanta. $1. Look at me, being a spokesman for the Golden Archers. But the thing is, you can't get a lineup, together without the guys who are working behind the scenes in Calvin and Omo. It's been really good to have them as a duo co-coaching this squad. Amazingly, they've done it outside of the country. They are both home in Hong Kong and Singapore, so we are the most socially distant squad. Everyone's in a different house. Our coaches are in different countries. I'm down in Melbourne. There's no way we are spreading anything at Gravitas. We're going to jump into Champ Select. I hope, Max, that Calvin and Omo might be joining us.
I hope so too.
yeah. So the thing is that the Champ Select will be happening. So hopefully they pop their heads back in our Discord. I might go to full screen and hopefully it doesn't play around my audio like it did last time. So again, we've discussed this a little bit. Champ Select is the starting point of every League of Legends game. It makes every League of Legends game unique because the compositions of the two teams can be different. You tell us if there's anything weird or funky, or because this match potentially has no bearing on either the Chiefs' placement or Gravitas were out of contention. Do you think there might be a bit of a fun or a funky draft here where people get to play maybe weird champions?
I definitely think there's a high possibility of that. I know a point I always like to bring up when going through picks and bans is the idea of comfort versus meta. Mm-hmm. Now, by meta, I mean your atypical strategy. What is considered to be the optimal way to play the game?
What was it? Calvin told me, most effective tactical advantage? Yeah. Is that what it stands for?
Exactly.
There he is.
Exactly
Calvin and Omo have joined us, and I've just done a shout out to Calvin. How you
Hello.
doing? We're now watching the draft that you guys are just in. Obviously,
this is going to be some spicy game.
Yeah, tell us why.
Spicy game alert. I don't want to spoil it.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah, you guys should wait and see.
Okay, so we were previewing that. Unfortunately, losing against AV, this game has effectively zero consequences in the playoff race and the standings.
That's correct.
So going into that philosophy, going into that game, what was the thing? Was it, hey, let's have some fun, let's have some team fights? Like you've said, you've done spicy. You can talk about it because you know what happens here. We're not talking out of school. But was that the mentality? Was it a bit of, hey guys, who do you want to play?
Yeah, so it's mostly that. It's mostly hey guys, this game has no implement it doesn't mean anything to us. It doesn't mean anything to Chiefs as well, because at the end of the day, their game versus Legacy is what decides who's first and second.
Yep.
So both teams actually have agreed to do some spicy things this game.
Okay.
Oh.
So we will see.
Is that spiciness in terms of these picks and bans, or perhaps playstyle when we get onto the Rift?
It's more picks and bans, but I think they might have fun on the Rift as well.
Well, Max and I are going to try to do the most overhyped, ridiculous casts. So if you're going to bring a spicy game, we're going to bring a spicy cast.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'll be watching.
You can, more than watching, you can come in at any point. The offer is open to both you guys, any of the OPL players want to jump in this. Have a clown fiesta on the cast as well as on the Rift.
All right. I guess let's just chill here then.
Yeah. Well,
What do you think, Leo?
Sounds good.
We could.
Let's just chill here.
So Max, yeah, we're now going to a quadcast, which is all good. I know you can handle these kind of punches.
Yeah.
So one thing while we are talking, we'll talk about Champ Select later. We have been talking about the squad and the fact that we've swapped in a bottom lane here and we've used nine guys over the split. Kudos to you both, Omo and Calvin, in wrangling esports players, wrangling scrims. How have you found the experience and the ability to pull on different skills and different players throughout the split? Omo, I'll throw to you so we know who we're talking to.
Okay, so having so many players makes it a little bit confusing, especially since we had a little bit of well, it was hard for us to get some scrims because a lot of OPL teams scrim in the afternoon.
Yep.
So we had to make the best of what we can do, and we tried to play to the strengths of our players. And yeah, we just tried to mix and match them to get the best combination.
And I think we even tried to figure it, we had learnings and lessons throughout it. Like we were trying to figure out when should we name the lineup, how do we inform the players. And I think we learned a little bit throughout the split. And I thought I feel like, weeks 4, 5, 6, we started to get a nice fit for it. Then we had the fortune or misfortune, if you will, of the league moving online. So we're able to bring in someone like Pabu, which we'd always wanted to have as part of the squad. But I mean, I was talking with Max before you guys came on. The feeling of camaraderie and the guys supporting one another, whether they're playing or not. I think that was a big plus for the season overall. Hang on, who's there?
Yeah, I'm just having a little chuckle seeing Ivern getting locked in.
Okay.
That's fun to see. We were saying some unorthodox picks, I think. Just to quickly explain, perhaps for people who don't understand why some of these lock-ins are a bit surprising right now, as it wasn't the Ivern Rengar. Disappointed there, but Pabu's got to play Tryndamere. I understand. But yeah, so Ivern, he's pretty much a giant walking, talking tree ripped straight out of like a Tim Burton nightmare.
So he's like Groot.
Yeah, think of it like Groot, but there's that little twist of something wrong behind him. Typically, this is not someone who you will see played at all, just because his ability set doesn't really match what a lot of teams will try and do. Plus, how he sort of plays the jungle is a bit unorthodox and can be exploited by opponents. But in a situation like this, where players are having more fun, playing more comfort, or, to enjoy themselves, he'll get locked in. So we actually get to see something. I know you mentioned before in your cast earlier, where every game is completely different.
Yep.
This game is going to be very different from your atypical League of Legends, just because of characters like the Ivern, Tryndamere as well. Definitely not something you will typically see in competitive play. That's who Pabu will be running in this one. And a Xerath support. I mean, I see that in solo queue all the time, but not usually in competitive play.
Okay. So I mean, is there a fair? A lot of these guys have never played these champions in an OPL game.
Yes, I think that's fair to say. They will not have played them in a competitive environment.
Maybe the only one is maybe Suman is maybe played. Who's the guy that Suman's playing?
Oh yeah, the Silas in the mid lane. He's fun. Silas is a lot of fun, just because his main ability is stealing his opponent's main ability.
Okay.
So everything that he has, essentially that ability to go ahead and take one champion at a time, so he can do at every stage one of their own ultimates and then use it back against them, which sort of makes him very weak or strong dependent on what his opponents are playing and what he is coming up against. So sometimes you might see the same animations going across the screen. That's just because they have a Silas on their own side, so it makes things fun to cast.
so before Max jumped in, Omo, we were just talking about managing a whole squad and bouncing backwards and forwards. How have you and Calvin found it over the split?
It has been rough at times, but it
Yep.
definitely gave us a little bit of strategic flexibility, as well as being able to, how do you say this, like swap our players in and out to give them the best opportunities to play the champions that they're best at, and like make the team comps that seem the best for us.
And
So
do you think from a player development point of view, you've seen some of the players in the squad grow in ability and be better for the experience of one practicing behind or practicing with other players, and even just getting some time in scrims?
well, I would say that most of the players definitely have shown some improvement. Ultimately, it wasn't enough for us to get into playoffs, but
Yep.
yeah, definitely, I feel like they've had some improvements throughout the split.
All right.
Especially like having so like shuffling our roster does make it a little bit confusing for the players who aren't shuffled at times.
Yep.
But they're learning to deal with it, and they're finding a way to balance that as well.
All right. Well, we're getting started. For those who haven't watched before, we are the blue team, and Chiefs are the red team. It's always confusing when you're playing a blue team like Chiefs with blue in their logos, but they're playing on the red side. It always I go to start watching it, and then I'm like, oh no, we're not blue, we're red, we're blue. So things are going to kick off pretty quickly here, aren't they?
Yeah, it actually looks
It
to be the
seems that way.
case as Chiefs looking for a bit of early poke damage. They're not going to find anything. Something I think to bring note for a lot of the people first watching is at the bottom right-hand corner, the mini map. I didn't know you mentioned that before, but that's actually when there's not direct action happening on the screen. Sometimes the most important place to look, because that just tells you the position of where everyone
left,
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bottom left. Sorry, not right. Is that right?
Sorry, bottom right. Yeah.
Am I right? It is right. Okay.
I'm just visually dyslexic.
Yeah, so am I, which is why I got concerned and had to question it for a sec there. But yeah, so that's super important to watch. And typically, when you see the red circles start moving towards the blue circles, that's usually when action's about to go down. So, similarly on that, you can see the river straight diagonally through the cross. A lot of times at the start of the game, I like to call that the line of scrimmage.
Okay.
Because each team keeps to their own side of the river, essentially, and that's sort of that halfway point.
Yeah, that's the 50-yard line if we're talking to our friends in the US.
Exactly. And then as you play, as you get more advantages, you start pushing into sort of your opponent's territory. That sort of line of scrimmage, it won't be represented visually on the map, but it will start to move towards one side or the other based on how well a team is doing. And it's always good to sort of see the circles, the players, how they sort of react to where this sort of imaginary battle line is.
So Calvin, with a game like this where it is a bit of fun, do you give the players any instruction, or are they treat it a little bit like a fun scrim or a solo queue game?
I definitely give them the instruction of just having fun.
Yep.
Just have fun.
So who
I
do
think
you?
that is a good enough instruction.
Yeah. And so who is of the Gravitas squad? Who's the player that's most likely to have fun in this type of game?
I think Suman right now.
Oh,
Get in there, Suman.
maybe not now.
Maybe
Oh,
not.
no! Come on! Get in there, K-pop.
Yeah, K-pop's looking.
Oh, no, we don't want that. We want something.
I actually think Jackson's the one that's gonna have the most fun.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yes.
He's playing Ignite Tryndamere top. So like this champion is always known as like a solo queue champion. So like you never really play him in competitive.
Yep.
Because he doesn't really offer much in the side lane.
Okay.
No.
But the thing is, like, he is really obnoxious in solo queue because this champion, his ultimate ability is to not die for 5 seconds.
Yep. And so he can sit in a.
So-
he's just stopping and doing some push-ups now. He's just showing off.
No,
yeah.
He's got him. They got him here. The
Yeah,
Ignite.
they got him. They got him. And so like this champion have this ability, like his to like not die for 5 seconds, even though his health bar reaches 1.
Pabu got Croc.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. I thought
It was
the-
very underhanded.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, I
wanted
thought it was
him
the
to
other way
dance and
around.
then he
Like,
ganked him.
yeah.
No, that's good for Pablo.
No.
I thought,
Yeah.
but we mistakenly called. Like I had to go check the screen. But yeah, so it's 1-1 anyway. So you think there will be a lot of individual play? Do you think will the team revert to team behaviour when we have to come in for a fight, or is that how does that work in this kind of game if everyone's sort of doing solo queue tendencies?
I think the group of 4 in the mid lane, bot lane, and jungle will look to like just group up and just brawl it out.
Yep.
But Jackson on this champion, he really just wants everyone to leave him alone so that he can hit turrets.
Okay.
K-pop's in a bit of trouble here right now, actually. He's going to go down, so a bit unfortunate. What he was doing at the time when he got caught out was just trying to establish, it looks like, a bit more vision for the team, but unfortunately didn't really expect Croc as well as, the rest of the Chiefs to sort of be rotating in that same area, and kind of gets caught out.
So Max, you made the big call before, and I won't debate it with you, but Calvin and Omo have got more knowledge than I do. You said that jungle and support are the most important positions in league.
Yes.
Please explain.
Yes.
All right. You want? Okay, I will try to explain it. Then the coaches will say everything that I've said wrong. But when it comes to, I suppose, setting up that early game tempo, no role is more important than the jungle. They provide the most vision support as well as lane support where needed. They also sort of help dictate what side is going to be the strong side, what side is going to be the weak side. I can get more into that later, or the coaches can explain it a bit more, sort of based on where they position themselves. And as a result, that will then turn into dictate what objectives team might or might not fight for. This is important because, as mentioned in that earlier stream, oh my gosh, Pabu.
That's the way. That's it. Get in there.
Yeah, meanwhile, Pabu's just going to go ahead and actually be interesting while I talk about boring book stuff. But
so that's jungle. So then why? So that's jungle. Understand that. That's getting positioned. Then why support?
Support is almost sometimes like a secondary jungle, but at the same time, their job is almost to protect everyone. A lot of their abilities include things like crowd control, which is essentially disrupting their opponents. A lot of times that's their main job. They also are vital in providing vision. Vision is information, allows you to make the smart choices in how you approach this game, because while it looks like chaos, there's actually a lot of tactics and decision making going on at any given moment, from everything from positioning to how you manage those waves to catching out Katsuri as he's left on his own. And another good kill for Gravitas. So
that's what we want. Go, you good thing.
Decision making. And that was enabled by a great support. K-pop hit that initial ability. That kill doesn't happen if you don't have the support hitting the dredge line, hitting that big anchor across the head of Katsuri. So that's something a support will do.
Yeah, so Calvin and Omo, I mean, I guess the thing is the jungle sometimes doesn't have the big stats because the other guys get the kills and those kind of things, but it is part of, I guess, setting up the whole match is what Max was saying.
Yeah. So jungle as a role is it always gets changed every year because of it's the role that affects the most by balance, like the game balancing.
Yep.
So right now, jungle is a role that dictates pretty much like all the early mid game aggressions, because it's pretty much like one extra person in each lane, right? Like whenever he gets there, you have number advantage, you can fight.
And so he can jump to top and support Pabu up top and create a number, and he can jump to mid and do the same with Suman. As praise.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or Croc can also.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you doing, K-pop? That's the wrong spot.
Oh, he's fine. He's fine.
Don't
worry about it.
Oh, come on. Come on. Get some more. Get some more. Oh, come on.
Close.
Oh, Jackson.
Get in there, Pabu. That's it.
All right.
Now watch this. See, he's going to push his ultimate button. And that undying rage line means he cannot die for the next 5 seconds. So he can do whatever he wants, gets the kills. And going back to the Tryndamere, the reason why this champion is so annoying. Remember earlier when I was talking about that line of scrimmage?
Yes.
Tryndamere is great at pushing that line of scrimmage in your favor because he's always going to stay in a lane and continue to push it up. So it's not going to be a straight line. It's kind of going to be a curve.
Yeah, but that's pretty much
up towards line of scrimmage.
Like I think you said before, like he can just be left by his own because he's just going to keep pushing and bullying his way further and further, which lets the other 4 guys go to work, and he just becomes a problem where he is.
Absolutely.
All right, starting to figure this out.
So let's go back to the jungle support thing, right? The jungle, so like you look at this now. So Praelis is doing the Rift Herald because top lane just killed his lane opponent.
Yep.
They just had like a little skirmish in the mid lane. So he knows he have control over this river. So here it is, like trying to take the neutral objectives and try to push the team ahead. Now with the support is indeed like a secondary jungle where like usually you look to roam, you look to like crowd control people.
Yep.
So that your other lanes can, or like your other players can kill their opponent.
Yep.
But their main role in the early mid game, like that's different to the jungler, is that they are pretty much a babysitter for the ADC.
and make
So,
sure
like,
they
80?
make sure they get to the level they need to get to. So like,
Oh, my.
that's not good.
Claire.
He just deleted him. Oh, hang
Just
on.
Claire,
Here we go.
please.
Pralis is going to pop out here. He's going to come out with a gank, isn't he? Is he
I
just
think
waiting?
it is.
He's waiting
So
for
Jackson's ultimate is back up,
Yep.
so he can literally just run down the riven, so like Theon,
Yep.
without actually dying. Like he can take turret shots,
Yep.
and he won't die, pretty much.
Also, this should be evidence right now when I'm saying how Pabu is a top lane superstar in that
Yep.
position. Theon, I would say, has been one of the best performing top laners.
He
this
has been a really good
season.
top
Like
laner.
he has
at
been
this
like,
point. Yep.
yeah, he has been amazing. Pabu right now is utterly dominating him. Like this is actually very, very, very great performance from Pabu. You can see right here. He just doesn't care. He's just going to flash forward. He's going to
gonna
chase
go
Theon
all
all the way
the-
home. He'll get that kill. This is a spectacular performance on that Tryndamere.
And
My
so,
goodness.
Nice
so again,
champion.
if we're looking at the stats down below, 4 kills, 0-0. That's Pabu at the top there. But there's going to be more damage coming in here. Look at the Gravitas boys just collapse on them.
Yeah, I mean that's where vision is super important, understanding where your opponents are, so you can surround your enemies when they overstep that line of scrimmage and step down. Now it's just
Pabu's just getting greedy. He's
Jackson?
just going in and having a crack at the inhibitor by himself.
Jackson is literally on the inhibitor turret at 11 minutes in
Yeah.
this game.
Yeah, I wish we had the comms. I could just hear like Pabu's goblin laugh is probably happening over comms right now as he's having a crack at base at 11 minutes.
So
What,
keep in mind, Chiefs also banned 5 top laners to
Yeah.
protect Theon from this Riven pick from
Okay.
getting countered.
Yep. Oh, so even though it was like, hey, let's be spicy, they just still didn't want Pabu to give him a good old whack.
but then they let Pabu get his
Well,
favorite
then-
champion.
He also warned everyone that he will play on OPL on Twitter for like I think a week now.
Oh,
Yeah,
but
that's,
Pabu does talk about every single champ he might play. So
He
it's-
actually does.
he does
So-
have a pretty wide champ pool. He can do that.
So Pabu, I think of like the past few years that I've coached, I think he is the top laner that has the deepest champion pool that I've coached.
Yeah.
I mean, he's played
So-
he's played the most champions in Gravitas's history, and you know, Pralis was creeping up on him, but he's had 20 less or 15 less games than Pralis.
no.
No, that's all.
Oh,
Get out of
okay.
there, get out of there, human. Oh, good work. Good
And
work.
there is a jungler doing good jungle things and coming in and making the save.
Good
I mean,
jungle
sometimes
things.
all you need is a bit of a bush to hide in, but Prelius helps it out.
Yes,
Good
definitely,
job.
definitely.
There's another reason why I say jungle and support are the two most important roles.
Yep.
They're also the two roles I play,
Oh, okay.
and that's very
Actually,
important. So
just-
it's
just a
very
little-
very important.
Just a little fun thing
Yep.
is that Avant is actually classified as a support champion.
Oh, really?
So
He
he
is
is
a support jungler.
So he is a support in the jungle.
Yes.
And
Yep.
Nautilus, in Nautilus's history, he started off as a jungler, and the balance patch has like eventually shifted him to a support role.
Yeah, Nautilus has been everywhere. He's been played.
He
top.
has been
There you go.
everywhere.
We've got to
He's
be
been
careful
famously
here.
played mid in
Claire
World
and Croc are
Championships
like
as,
sneakily around.
Yeah, they are. Claire, look at Claire just dive to the back line right now. That's not a good situation at all.
That's it.
Prelius, yeah, he can't do much to
It's
save
okay,
that.
guys. Pabu's ending
It's
now.
okay, Jackson is ending
He's
the
ending.
game.
Actually, can I use this to talk about strong and weak side real quick? Because I
Yeah.
did mention that before. At the moment, I think this is pretty easy to figure out right now. For Gravitas, the top half of the map
Yep.
is their strong side,
Yep.
and the bottom half of the map right now is their weak side. And typically, by that is with a lot of teams, they will focus more attention to either the top half or the bottom half of the map, depending on their competition and how like the early game will go. With the idea of instead of trying to downplay our weaknesses, we're going to accentuate our strengths. So a lot of times you will see sort of like an ebb and flow, yin and yang type situation. And I mentioned this before, that line of scrimmage is going to start to change. Well, sometimes shifts
But
in
it's-
that regard. And yeah, it's been interesting to see how Gravitas' strong side has been entirely just through one player so far, and that one player has been Pabu.
But it's again, the matches. I mean, as much as it's been fun, it's relatively even, isn't it? Right now, the gold's relatively the same. Kills are exactly the same. We've got one tower more. It's still a relatively even game, isn't it?
I'd say actually it's in your Gravitas' favor right now, because if you look at the Gravitas' strong side, you can see he's not one tower ahead, he's actually 2 towers ahead. He has to open up the base and expose that inhibitor. Whereas if Chiefs are trying to mimic on the opposite side They've only gotten one tower down there. Now, the difference is in the mid lane. It does mean that there will be a bit more space, I feel like, for the Chiefs to work with on that bottom side of the map. However, if Pabu keeps going up top because of that exposed inhibitor,
They're gonna have
if
to
that
keep. They're gonna have to
falls,
keep
they're gonna
going
have-
back to defend it. Yeah.
absolutely. So he's going to start actually helping out his weak side by drawing attention up to him. Now, I could argue as well, the inhibitor, you probably don't want to take it until Baron is up at that 20-minute mark, because that's really when you can utilize it at its strongest. However, sometimes, you got to go for the style play. You have to destroy your opponents as fast as possible, and I'm kind of hoping to see a inhibitor fall shortly, or you could take that lead you've accrued and take it elsewhere. So now Pablo's actually going down probably to the bot half of the map, where he's going to do that exact same thing that he did up top, and it's really going to be up to the Chiefs. How can they handle Pabu?
Okay. And is it the Pabu show here, guys, and then pretty much and have everyone support him?
It is pretty much the
is,
part of
it
the
is.
show, isn't it?
Just look at
so
Primus
yeah, just,
tossing the shields.
Yeah.
just to back up like Formal's explanation on like strong side, top side a little bit.
Yep.
So like the reason he said that it's like it's slightly to Gravitas' favor, like despite the gold being like slightly behind for us,
Yep.
is the fact that like if you look at the strong side, holy, Jackson's just casually jumping through the wall.
Yeah,
Jackson's running from bot to mid to top and eating all the
yeah.
way.
Okay, I thought he was playing. He's playing fights. So
Okay, so generally when you see like a team, like when like everything is even, but like you can tell which team has the advantage. Never mind. Never mind. He got shut down.
Oh, that's not good.
Okay.
Oh
He
no,
accepted
That's
that
not
he would
good.
die. That is
that
not
is
good.
not good.
That's not good at all.
There you go.
And that's just a case. That's just a case of pushing it a little too far and overreaching. To be
That is
stating
correct.
To stating the
Yes.
bloody obvious.
So that 5-second
yeah.
invincibility ability from Pabu we were talking about.
Yep.
He never activated it.
Okay.
So that is the big explanation, and that just came because he got locked down and taken out before he had the chance to react to that.
Actually, I think he can press his alt button,
well, it's
even
the
when he's crowd controlled.
Well,
I'm not too
then-
sure actually.
then he wasn't expecting the amount of damage that
He
would have
probably
been
just
coming.
yeah.
That's
But
Feels
that's
bad.
both play. I mean, forgetting the overreach, like that's very Chiefs. Like
That is
to,
very Chiefs.
to punish a mistake and go whack 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 whack. Like that's why they're one of the top teams in the league, isn't it?
yeah.
That is correct.
And as strong as Pabu is right now,
Yep.
we also should be. I feel like even though he's on the Chiefs, we should be talking about Claire. 7-1 on this Diana, kind of can do similar things to that Tryndamere. We saw it before in that earlier fight. A bit more mobile, as actually Tian might be in trouble right now. I kind of want to watch this because Pabu is now on that front line and one auto just doing like a third of Tian's health, and now he has to put
That's the way
that
to-
undying
that's the
rage,
way
and
to
we get
go.
to see what happens. Although he could be in a little trouble.
Get out of there!
No.
Oh.
It's only 5 seconds. It's not forever, and sometimes you gotta time your escape correctly.
Oh well. But it was good to go there. And they're going to take down another tower. Claire's just going to give it a good old whack.
Yeah, so Claire, as I was saying, he's another one to watch. He'll do similar things to what we saw Pabu doing earlier, which is, play the side lanes, keep that constant pressure, and force their opponents to react. The scary thing about Diana, the champion Claire is playing as well, is a bit more mobile in team fights. Now, we've seen Pabu, he can spin to get to that backline.
Yep.
Diana, she can dash to that backline, not once, but sometimes twice, depending on if other abilities connect. Plus, she has that instantaneous burst damage where Pabu will have to whack someone a couple times. Diana can do it instantly, and that's what makes her so much of a threat. You can also see the gold real quick up right now, actually, so you can see where everyone's standing as it were. Claire did have a bit more gold, so a bit more items.
Yep.
Claire is actually probably the scariest person on the Rift right now, and that is who Gravitas is going to have to find a way to shut down if they're going to try and get back into this game and not get caught out like this.
Oh, human, that's not the spot to be. That's not the spot to be. Oh well.
It's a bit rough right there. I don't know. Coach, is this salvageable?
One thing I want to
Pabu
bring
ends
up
the
is
game,
that
don't
this is a crit Riven.
What's that mean?
So, Riven is a bruiser. So she is a bruiser champion. So usually she builds bruiser items like the Tiamat. You'll see her building Black Cleaver. You'll see her building, I don't know, like basically basically items that gives attack and health and
Okay.
cooldown reduction. But this time, Thean has gone for like a really niche solo queue build path where you go crit for the damage. So like you go critical damage. So like this is a really squishy. Excuse me. This is a really squishy Riven. So like she will get deleted within like fraction of a second.
Okay. So,
But she will also do a lot of damage.
So when you say really squishy, what does that mean for people who don't know?
I think the best way to describe it would be high risk, high reward. So
Okay.
if she gets hit by if she gets hit by an attack or two, she will be taken out immediately.
Okay.
However, if she gets the jump on her opponent and gets those attacks off, well, then she'll take them out immediately. So she doesn't have the survivability. By that, she's small, she's squishy, she can pop easy, but she can pop other people as Pabu versus Claire. Now, this is that main event fight right now. The two Fed members, that's what... Oh, he gets it, and does he escape? The happy feet avoids the artillery, and Pabu just like that. Okay, I said Claire was the scariest one on the Rift. Well, not anymore. I think Pabu just made a statement.
Back to Pabu time. That's what we want to see.
Tryndamere is never scared of anyone.
True.
Yeah,
He's the 1v1 king.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was about to say the same. Like, I put Pabu on anyone. He sort of wants to play that way.
Yeah, and it fits with Tryndamere, who can 1v1 a lot of champions. 5 seconds is a long time in League of Legends, as it looks like Korea CK might be about to find out. Pabu looking to chase him down. Good stun from Korea to hold him back, but 3 members of Gravitas versus 1 member of the Chiefs. It never ends well for the Chiefs. That's going to be
That's what we want.
Yeah, there you go. Steven is going to be given the kill in this instance. So they're going to try and get the Silas back into this game as... He's had a bit of a rough one, Seaman, going up against Claire, who has been unstoppable, not just this game, but this season.
So again, looking at that bottom scoreboard, 2-4-1 is Seaman's score, but 7-2-3. So 7 kills, 2 deaths, 3 assists for Claire. He's having a monster of a game. We're going to have a battle here. It's going to be on.
We are.
You can call it any time you want.
K-pop. Yeah, K-pop just went in right there, and it does look like Gravitas might be able to turn this around. Watch Belong. He is actually a main source of damage, but instead he's actually going over the wall and trying to run away, but it's Katsuri who's going to jump on him in the front line. Tien was just running rampant, gets the quadra kill. That's going to be a Baron to boot, and Gravitas was starting to come back, but it looks like the Chiefs may have just completely taken this game over.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Wow. We don't need to see that again. We don't need to replay that.
It's a good learning thing to watch, I suppose. And why Crit Riven is so scary, because you can see she's not getting hit a lot, but she is getting her attacks off, and that's that high risk, high reward. You can see the sheer damage from just 1 or 2 autos, entire teams will fall, and squishy champions are the scariest champions if left untouched.
So a question for the coaches, and it's not a critical one, but how the Chiefs are known for being great in a team fight. How do you train for that, or how do you become better in a team fight? What do you think some of the keys that obviously the Chiefs are doing well, because they've sort of been known for that? Omo, if you're still there.
Well, I would say that honestly, a lot of it doesn't come down to training. A lot of it comes down to your game IQ and how much you understand about the game and your role as a champion and your role as a player.
Okay.
So if everyone knows what their job is in a team fights get really easy. If everyone knows where they need to be, who they need to be hitting, then team fights get really easy. And
so is that a comms thing? Is that a how you play?
Comms is one big part of it. If you communicate what you want to be doing clearly and your team understands it, then that's big. But at the same time, if everyone knows what their role in the team fight is, comms aren't necessarily even that important. It's there for let's call this target. We want to kill this guy. And then everyone knows how that should be done. I will engage the fight, you will jump on him after, etc., etc.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like Chiefs are one of those teams.
Can I just bring up real quick how it feels like after every single team fight that the Chiefs win, Pabu has found the person who has popped off and done really well for the Chiefs and immediately killed him after. He has done that twice now. Unfortunately, as Gravitas was getting a bit of a revenge, Claire was doing the Chiefs' dirty work, and now it's just opened up the base for Gravitas. And
we're gonna lose
this is getting very, very dire. It looks to be the case. As 2 inhibitors are probably going to fall right now. Yeah, because we went all Claire just continuing to bully Suiman, and you can see
Poison
that dashing
damage.
ability and like the sheer burst damage that characters like Diana can bust out. Typically, they are considered assassins, because well, they assassinate people in a blink of an eye, as
Yep.
Claire was able to do. Pretty straightforward on that one, and you know, I saw that I think Claire had a Soul Stealer before, but may have sold it. But now I'm looking that Katsuri has a Soul Stealer, and so does Korea CK. If you look down at the bottom of the screen, sort of where you
Yep.
can see like that scoreboard right there, some of the items next to the bottom player on the Chiefs and the second to the bottom, about a couple items in on each of them. There's a book. The one above has that little number 2 on it.
Okay.
That item is called the Soul Stealer, and essentially it gets stronger with the more takedowns that you get, but you lose strength every time you die. So it's typically considered an item that you get when you're ahead to
Yep.
kind of push your lead a bit further. And
Okay.
the fact that each of them have 0 numbers on it kind of shows that they haven't really been the best items to pick up so far for these players. It's always fun to watch, though, because they can stack all the way up to 25, and when they get to that level, it means that you are doing very, very well, and you are very, very strong.
Yeah. So so Advanced League of Legends is all of those icons on that board are giving them different abilities or different power ups for their champion while the game is going on, and they can buy them with gold. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I was trying to think of a good metaphor for this, and I kind of went with boxing, actually. You know, at the start of the game, you don't really have anything, but you know, when you win a couple fights, earn some money, you get some good gloves, earn a bit more money. You can throw some like brass knuckles underneath those gloves to give you a bit of an extra punch, but don't let anyone catch you.
I think we need some brass knuckles right now. If we give
Yeah, I
Babu
think
some
some
brass
brass knuckles would be good.
that'd be good. Or someone rip out their internet. That'd be good. That would help us right now. That's our win condition. Their internet goes out, which is it's a chance. We're in Australia, everybody. It's a chance, right?
Yeah.
So we never know, but it does look like we have spoken about win conditions and that that League of Legends always offers win conditions. Is there any left here for Gravitas, or it's
unfortunately, I think we just saw.
I think Jackson can get a
end of it.
pentakill.
So,
Yeah,
I
but
think
he just
Jackson
died
can
to
get a
Claire.
pentakill.
He just died to Claire.
That's
He's
true.
not coming back. The win
He'll be back
condition
in
was
30
not gonna
seconds and
die.
get a pentakill.
Yeah, so surviving for 30 seconds and then pushing R,
Yep.
somehow breaking the game so that the ultimate never finishes, so that 5 seconds becomes about 25 seconds. Then maybe, but
And we are
even
defending
then-
like crazy here, but the Chiefs are coming in, and they're coming in hard, and they're trying to delete us, and they're going to take the Nexus, and that's going to be the split. Unfortunately,
yeah.
there are no win conditions left.
Look, if you had told me at the start of this game Pabu was going to play a split Tryndamere and get into the Chiefs space
Get in there,
in
Pabu.
under 12 minutes.
Enter now.
Hey,
Get
we
him,
might want
Pabu.
to
Get in
do
there.
that.
Get in there.
Oh,
that's so nice.
So close.
as if the Chiefs wouldn't delay the game. But yeah, no, Gravitas definitely could be happy with that performance. Pabu for sure. He cracked open the base in under 12 minutes. That is pretty unfounded in a competitive League of Legends game. So the Tryndamere strategy almost did work. He was the win condition. However, part of that win condition was the rest of the team kind of holding even or maybe only giving up small advantages. The advantages were a bit too big, and Claire kind of doing that same thing, I feel, was stronger at the end of the day. He did get that last kill just before you start talking about win conditions, and that's kind of what sealed the deal for the Chiefs.
Well, thank you very much, Formal, for joining me on this Gravitas cast. I think I did better last week because it was all about me casting last week that got us 2 wins, but it wasn't really. It wasn't really.
I'm just bad luck. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man.
But we have got some of the boys here in the chat. Who we got? Belong and K-pop with it. Are joining us. How did you have fun in that game? A bit of fun in that game.
Lots of fun.
Definitely.
Yeah. In what way?
Pretty stressful split. Got to let out some steam, some stress relief.
Yeah.
In that regard, and
the
just got to
champ
pull out one of my favorite picks.
and the champ you played. Why did you tell Calvin and Oma to play that? Who did you play, and why do you like playing it?
played Graves.
Yep.
It's one of my champions that I was wanting to play the entire split, but never actually got the chance to because I couldn't convince Calvin and Omo that it was actually a good champion.
Yep.
It finally, I got the opportunity to play it today, and I had a lot of fun on it.
Well, that's good. It's all about that. We
Yeah.
were in the fight there for a while.
Yeah.
Who else have we got? Everyone's got wrong names. K-pop. How did you enjoy today's game?
Well, today was definitely a bit more of a fun game.
Yep.
So it was just really fun. Like the comms were a lot different today, so everyone was a lot more cheerful than serious.
So what was the comms like when Parbu was having a shot at the inhib at the 11-minute mark? What was happening there?
Oh well, Parbu decided that he didn't want to hit the towers anymore. He just
Yep.
wanted to hit champions and have more fun. So
Yep.
he just tried to run at mid.
Oh, very good, very good. And those team fights, a bit of a clown fiesta, but you guys had some fun. Suman,
Yeah.
did you have some fun in that game despite the loss?
Yeah. I just play like for fun. Just like I just
Doesn't
like,
seem
want
like
to-
a fun.
I just want to
Sorry.
all in like yeah, like
So when you play a fun game like that and you play it a bit looser and that kind of thing, is there some things you can take from that game to go, how can we do that in a normal game? Like take some of that looseness and you know, we talked about yesterday being a bit passive. Do you think there's something in that aggressive and having a bit of fun that you could potentially take into Split 2?
in that game I don't know, like clearly I was like trying to like a different play style.
Yep.
Like I was playing like really safe, really like for tempo, good trade. And in that game I just want to try like all in, like really aggressive. Like if I win that 1v1, I will get big tempo. But it's
Yep.
really risky. So I just want to have a try. Because that game is like win or lose is not even change anything. So I just want to try something for next split.
All right. And
So just a bit of explanation on like the tempo thing. So
Yep.
tempo is essentially a lead that is not in gold, but in like in the pace of the game,
Okay.
pretty much.
And overall, you know, we've just missed out on the playoffs, but can hold our heads up high. Do you feel like there's a little bit of momentum with some of the wins that we had late in the split that we can build on for Split 2? Suman, I'll ask you first.
Okay. In that lose, I think we know what our weakest point.
Yep.
We can work with that for a long time, like maybe 3 or 4 months. Yeah, and I think like for next bit, we will set a higher target, like maybe top 3. I think we can do it.
Well,
Because-
we lost to Chiefs, but we played them well, I think, throughout the split. And I think they are the benchmark. But like if we're looking back on the split, we had the really good win against Legacy, you know, really good win against Direwolves. We played really well against Penta. So I think there's a lot of positives. I'm really proud of the whole squad. But now you guys get to have a bit of a break. Unfortunately, you can't go outside. You've all got to stay home and stay safe. So I'm going to wrap up this. Max, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciated you joining us at Cast. We're going to experiment with this in Split 2. I don't think I'm going to do every single game, but I think I will do a game every now and again and help more people understand what League of Legends is. So thank you very much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me. I mean, this was fun. It was fun. It was different, but like definitely enjoyed it.
And Calvin and Omo, thank you very much. It was a spicy game. It wasn't the game that we wanted. But the challenge is we've got to get Chiefs next split. They're still very much in our list. It's a very tough ask, but I think if we can make some improvements in some form or another and get a win against Chiefs, I think that puts us in real good stead for Split 2. So first of all, from me, thank you for everything you've done so far in the split. With all the conditions, with all of the challenges thrown at us, coaching from home, and hopefully you're both safe in your part of the world. But yeah, thank you very much for Split 1 as we wrap up Split 1.
Thank you.
This man of so few words, Calvin.
Oh.
No. I just thought I'd throw that in there. But thank you as well to you, Omo.
He's muted.
He's muted.
Yeah.
He's still muted. He's gone. He's gone.
He's gone.
All right. Thank you very
All
much
right.
to the whole squad. We will leave him alone, Bambi. Stop talking to me like that. But thank you very much for moderating. Thank you very much who's been watching on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Appreciate it. Gravitas will be back in Split 2. Don't you worry about that. We'll hear more of this song.
Glory. Gravitas. 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 Glory.
I don't know what else I can add. I was like,
Gravitas.
you know how like streamers like have those like LED panels and whatnot all over their wall and whatnot. Maybe I need to do that, but maybe I just need to spend a solid like couple of hours just sitting down looking through what I could buy on eBay and then you know, getting this room ready for playoffs.
Yeah, maybe. There's also those really cool Tetris lights. You could add those in, maybe with the corner background.
What should I do? Like a big S? I don't know what I could do there. Or should I just make OPL out of Tetris blocks? Would that be meta?
I mean, you could do. I think the S would be easier. The full OPL logo might be a little bit too many of those